We plan to launch a pilot stage of the digital ruble project on April 1st, with transactions between individuals and payments in trade and service enterprises at this stage. I would like to draw your attention right away that the pilot will be based on real operations, real clients, but on a limited number of operations and on a limited number of clients, with 13 banks that have already technically confirmed their readiness.
For the technologically adverse like myself, what's a digital ruble?
Yeah, that's a great question, Union. So really a digital ruble is not really, for the common user, is no real different than the rubles you have in your bank account or dollars or euros. The only difference really is that instead of it being a number that's sort of randomly printed on a screen that can be inflated, it's actually built on blockchain technology and issued in a way whereas you'll have to account for every 1 ruble that is in the bank to the rubles that are actually in circulation. Let's take a cryptocurrency. Let's say Bitcoin, Union, it's the most widely known cryptocurrency. So Bitcoin, when the payment is processed, what happens is the computer systems and what crypto people call nodes, so the computer system that verifies that transaction happened, is anonymous and decentralized. In the case of CBDCs that we're discussing now, those nodes or those computer systems are centralized, i.e. they belong to, in this case, to the Central Bank of Russia, so they can make sure that there's no nefarious activity happening when those transactions are processed.
Understood.
I think a lot of the cryptocurrency maximalists may not like where this is going. However, this is a technology that is developing and evolving all the time.
And we want more and more people to use it.
And we want adoption. We want more people to use it.
Or they do,
and unfortunately, I think in order for more people to use things, you are going to need the support of governments. And governments are going to need to have more oversight as to how these transactions occur.
What's the difference between me going with my debit card and paying for things with a digital ruble? What is the planned difference between that?
Yeah, so really absolutely nothing to you as a user, Union. But the fundamental difference is you're not going to have these cumbersome payment networks involved. So, for example, your debit card, if we're talking to our viewers in the West, they'll be using MasterCard and Visa. So MasterCard and Visa will be taking a chunk of a fee in order to process that transaction. This way, that transaction happens directly from Russia's central bank to the merchant or the shop or wherever you're buying your goods. So that middleman is essentially cut out.
Understood. OK. In terms then of benefits, will people be able to use these digital rubles when a network connection is unavailable? There could be issues like that, right?
Yeah, so reading the white paper from the Russia's central bank, they're saying, yes, you can. Now, how they actually do that, we'll have to see when they come up with more colour. But I imagine it will be the same way as if you've ever been on an aeroplane and you've paid for something on your card. That transaction isn't actually processed because you're in the air. There's no internet connection to actually process it. So what happens is when the plane lands, that transaction is then processed by the machine. It will probably be a similar mechanism.
Chris, other countries, are they planning similar? Is Russia to the avant-garde of this? Are they climbing on the back of somebody else, piggybacking? What's happening?
So Russia's pretty far ahead in the fact that they've said they're implementing. However, China was the first mover. So back in April 2021, which is around the same time, Russia's saying April 2023. April 2021, China conducted what they called their first public pilot. And now in China, the digital renminbi is used quite widely across China. So it's not the first, but it's definitely a brave move. And also, the Bank of Japan announced today that they're also going to launch the digital Chinese yuan at the same time that Russia is. So I think we're probably going to see a whole vast array of countries start moving in this direction.
There's a natural overlap between body hackers and the blockchain movement. And here at Body Hacks 2019, a 2-day conference in Austin, Texas, I'm planning on joining these couple hundred people who can officially call themselves cyborgs by getting something implanted too. So I've just watched a bunch of videos about getting implants, namely the magnets under the fingers, and they use a scalpel, and there's a lot of blood, so that was a little bit much. For me, though, it'll be much less gruesome. I'm just getting an NFC-enabled microchip implant. It's housed in glass, about the size of a grain of rice, and so it fits inside a hollow 14-gauge needle. The needle goes in, the implant gets pumped out, the needle comes back out. It hurts about as much as giving blood or getting a piercing, and it gets injected most often between the thumb and index finger. And it's secured by this blockchain. That's the implanter's joke. Some attendees had programmed their chips to open RFID safes and doors, unlock their phones, and send their contact information to other phones, and some had even hacked their way into creating an authorization for accessing their Bitcoin holdings. That last use case, that's what I'm looking for. So on the last day of the conference, I sat down and a minute later excitedly exclaimed, "I'm a cyborg."
Thank you for your cooperation.
The implant I got, the VivoKey Spark, currently allows users to send an NFC-enabled phone to their profile page or to whatever website they choose. For the test, and to shamelessly promote my content, I set the implant to send a phone to the Bitcoin at 10 website. Oh, shit. It did, in fact, take me to Bitcoin at 10.
Can I try?
Yes. Now we'll try with another person's phone. OMG.
Wow.
Cool, huh? Next, I set it to take my phone to my Receive Bitcoin QR code, making it easy for people out and about to scan that code and tip me some crypto.
$2?
I guess, if that's all you're willing to give me, cheapskate. And in a week or so, VivoKey will be launching a new API that will allow users to program the chip to act as an authenticator key. With this, I should be able to request that every time I want to send or transfer Bitcoin out of an open source wallet, it'll ask me to scan the chip to validate that transaction. And that way, the chip will act as a unique security measure that might make my hand as valuable as Clean Eyes in Minority Report.
But seriously, don't take my hand. I don't have that much crypto.
I can't believe he just paid with his hand. Like, you just literally put your hand up and you're good to go. Like, that's crazy. Hi, my name's Charlie Warzel. I'm a senior writer with BuzzFeed News. And in order to see what the future of money looks like, I decided to live for a month just paying for things with my phone. And somewhere along the line, I ended up getting a microchip implanted inside my hand to see if I could be the first person in the world to pay for something out in the real world using just their hand. I basically wanted to try to download as many apps onto my phone as possible and make sure that I could use alternative currencies and try to skirt cash or credit cards any way possible.
Using your phone as a payment method, we call that a proximity mobile payment. And we estimate that by the end of 2016, US adults will spend $27 billion using their phone at the point of sale. But you look at that in the context in card volumes, I mean, that's a pretty small drop in the bucket.
Hey there, do you guys accept Apple Pay or any of like the card reader things for your phone? Can't buy anything here, right? Okay. All right, thank you very much. When you're only using your phone to pay for things, you find that you're sort of pushed to two extremes. Really big chain stores or really small, niche, kind of overpriced coffee shops and places like that. A couple weeks into my experiment, I ended up going to Sweden. Sweden happens to be way far ahead of the United States when it comes to getting rid of cash. I ended up meeting with some people who are really active in the biohacking community and found that you could actually implant an RFID NFC chip in your hand.
So take a deep breath for me and exhale.
And so I figured if I could put it in my hand, maybe I'd be able to pay for something with my hand.
That was it. Breathe.
Yeah.
Keep breathing.
How's it feel?
It's like pinchy. It definitely hurt like way more than they said it was going to. It looks sort of like a grain of rice or like a pill that's in my hand. So once everything healed, I decided that I needed to start focusing on how to make this chip work. And I really wanted to become the first person to ever pay for a meal at a restaurant with their hand. Eventually, I stumbled across a Venmo engineer who said that he could help me with my task. What they decided is that they would put my Venmo unique user ID onto my chip, which would basically make it so that any phone would recognize my hand as a Venmo app.
I'm gonna write your secret token for Venmo, and you're gonna go up there, they're gonna scan your hand, put how much we owe, that's it.
Takes a second. Here we go.
So you're good to go.
That was so sick, dude. That's amazing. That was sick.
Yes!
That was gnarly.
That was insane!
We actually accomplished what we set out to do, and I kind of couldn't believe that it was ever going to happen. Like, I thought I got this thing jammed in my hand for nothing. My hand is paying for everything today. If the wallet is here, And your phone is sort of a healthy middle ground. Something like the chip felt to me like the furthest possible extreme of, futuristic technology. After doing this experiment, I would bet that in about 10 years, it's kind of abnormal to carry around a wallet that's just stuffed full of cash.
When Elias Brotberger goes to work, he doesn't need ID, and he doesn't need money. In fact, much of what he needs to get through the day is hidden right there, just below the surface, in his hand.
You like to touch it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, weird. Yeah, it's like a grain of rice.
Yeah, a grain of rice.
Embedded in his hand is a microchip that serves as his keys, his ID, and his wallet.
Yeah, it's all in chip, so I use it to get around the building.
Buy snacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's buy some snacks. Exactly. So I can't open it.
No.
Okay.
So what I need to do is I need to first blip my chip, and it will log me in, and from there I get access to the fridge.
Popular TV shows like Black Mirror have imagined chips as part of a dystopian future.
Install in-grain procedure with local anesthetic and you're good to go.
In Sweden, the microchips are already here.
The microchip implants use the same technology that's in contactless credit cards,
which have made cash pretty much obsolete in Sweden.
No cash.
At this tech fair, a chipping event for those on the cutting edge, merging their hands with this new technology.
I thought it would be fun, right?
The process is simple and swift. A pinch of the skin, and in a matter of seconds, the chip is inserted. The transformation is complete. As for the pain,
I barely felt it.
But even in this nation of early adopters, not everyone is racing to get chipped.
Feel less human. I will feel like a robot.
I think, it's so much more data can go into this, when it's in your body.
There's no central registry tracking how many people are chipped, but biohacker Hannes Wellblood estimates between 5,000 and 10,000.
In the future, do you think everyone is going to be chipped?
I think it'll be voluntary, but I am certainly convinced that millions of people will find it very, very valuable to have a smart device under their skin.
Human microchipping may be our future, but in Sweden, it's already reality. Sarah Harmon, NBC News, Stockholm.
What underpins a world order is always the financial system. I was very privileged. My father was an advisor to Nixon when they came off the gold standard in '71, and so I was brought up with a kind of inside view of how very important the financial structure is to absolutely everything else. And what we're seeing in the world today, I think, is we are on the brink of a dramatic change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one. And the new accounting is what we call blockchain. It means digital. It means having a almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will give us far greater clarity over what's going on. It also raises huge dangers in terms of the balance of power between states and citizens.
And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.